Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the incredibly intense, totally transformative first 3 days of a young missionary's journey. We are unpacking a genuinely compelling primary source here, a personal diary written way back in August of 1994. And this is going to give us a rare, completely unfiltered look into those crucial first 72 hours at the MTC, the Missionary Training Center. Now, to fully grasp the weight of this, you have to put yourself in that 1994 mindset, right? No smartphones, zero social media, no texting your friends and family back home. When a young person entered this facility, it meant almost complete physical and digital isolation from the outside world. So if you've ever wondered how an enclosed, hyper-focused environment can literally rebuild someone's mindset from the ground up in just a matter of days, you're going to find this deep dive absolutely fascinating.
Okay, let's just jump right into this incredibly powerful declaration of pure joy from our author. He writes, "I have never been happier in my life. I love it." Now, what makes this level of exuberance so striking is that he penned this after just 72 hours in a completely alien, highly regimented, and honestly pretty grueling environment. I mean, how does a normal 19-year-old reach that level of absolute euphoria so quickly? It totally defies what we usually expect from sudden, demanding life transitions. To understand how that actually happens, we need to look closely at the massive psychological shift that occurs when a person completely sheds their previous life to adopt one singular driving purpose. Let's trace exactly how this unfolded.
Part 1. Leaving the World Behind. Wednesday, August 24th, 1994.
So crossing the threshold into the MTC brought this immediate psychological shift for the author. In the diary, he really heavily contrasts his previous secular life at a place called Snow College with the sudden reality of his new environment. He actually notes that his college period was burdened by, in his exact words, a lot of doubts about whether he had chosen the right school, the right path, the right future, the whole shebang. But stepping through the doors of the MTC, that lingering anxiety just evaporates. Instantly, it's replaced with this profound sense of clarity. He records an overwhelming feeling that he is exactly where he wants and needs to be. He talks about the deep comfort of knowing he's spending his time doing exactly what Christ would be doing 100% of the time. That immediate visceral pivot from everyday secular doubt to absolute spiritual certainty is a massive psychological leap to make in just a single afternoon.
So, you're probably wondering, what actually triggered that rapid, overwhelming sense of belonging? Well, it wasn't just the physical architecture of the place. It was the immediate culture of the people inside it. The very first interaction really set the tone. His new companion simply asked him right as he arrived, "Do you need any help with your suitcase?" The author makes a huge point to write about how his new companions, Elder Black, Elder Kelson, and Elder Garcia, were immediately jumping in, super eager to help out and serve a total stranger. When you're dropped into an intimidating new world, having peers who instantly demonstrate that kind of camaraderie and shared purpose, well, it builds an unbreakable foundation. He felt supported, welcomed, and integrated within the very first few hours of day one, which basically wiped away all the typical homesickness you'd naturally expect.
Which brings us to Part 2, Anatomy of a Missionary Day. This is Thursday, August 25th.
All right, so here is where the initial euphoria of arrival meets the stark reality of the daily work. The MTC rapidly molds its young missionaries through absolute, uncompromising time management in what is essentially a relentless 24-hour cycle. The schedule dictates 9 full hours of class right out of the gate, then a carefully allotted 7.5 hours for sleep, 2 total hours to eat meals, and then, as he casually scribbles in his diary, maybe a couple more hours of class just to finish off the day. It's wild. It is a highly engineered machine of dedication and study. There is basically zero idle time for the mind to wander. Every single minute is meticulously structured to keep these young men and women completely focused on their mission, leaving absolutely no room for the distractions of their old lives.
Now, despite the sheer bone-deep exhaustion you would obviously expect from that kind of punishing schedule, the work itself, ironically, acts like a battery. He notes that while practicing the teaching material, specifically rehearsing their standardized teaching lessons known as the first discussion with his companion, he felt a profound, deeply recognizable spiritual connection. So instead of breaking him down, the rigorous, repetitive routine actually amplifies his spiritual energy. Immersing himself in the doctrine and the role-play of teaching just confirms his sense of purpose. The strict schedule isn't experienced as a burden at all, it's genuinely felt as a conduit for meaning.
And amidst this incredibly strict inward-facing schedule, the diary also captures these vivid geographical trivia drops from his teachers, which brings a massive sense of scale to their secluded training. He eagerly writes down that the Oakland mission, which is where he's headed, has more languages than any other mission in the world. He also notes hearing a rumor from a teacher that there are currently no missionaries serving in San Francisco.
You can totally sense the awe in his writing here. These little nuggets of information show us how missionaries absorb the broader, global operational culture of the organization while they're training. It's a great reminder that even though they are completely physically isolated in the MTC dorms and classrooms, their minds are constantly being stretched and prepped for a vast, complex, global operation out in the real world.
Part 3, Brotherhood, Chants, and Push-Ups. Friday, August 26th.
By day 3, the author reaches an absolute peak of both spiritual and physical assimilation into this highly unique subculture. The transformation truly cements itself right here. I want you to imagine this vivid scene he recorded in the journal. At the very end of a long day of classes, after meeting all of his new instructors, the final teacher has all the missionaries gather together in a tight circle. They put their hands in the middle, twirl them around a few times to build up the energy, raise their arms high, and shout this powerful, unifying chant, "Hurrah! Hurrah! Hurrah for Israel!" He describes this intense, communal moment simply as awesome, declaring it unequivocally as his most spiritual day yet. It's a perfect example of how physical, group-based rituals bind individuals together, merging their individual identities into this powerful, shared zeal.
But then, in an incredibly sudden and, frankly, charming pivot, this deep spiritual high instantly transitioned into something else entirely. After all, these are still 19-year-old guys. The diary notes that almost immediately after this deeply moving ritual, everyone in the room is suddenly dropping to the floor to do push-ups. Realizing he isn't going to gain any weight just sitting around, the author decides he better jump right into the fray and show them how to really do it. It's just such a fantastic, humanizing detail. It reminds us that these incredibly disciplined, spiritually focused individuals are still extremely energetic, highly competitive young men. The intensity of their religious devotion lives right alongside this spontaneous, testosterone-fueled push-up competition, creating a brotherhood built on both faith and youthful camaraderie.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to consider the sheer power of environments and habits illustrated by this young man's diary. If a focused 72-hour routine, surrounded by an intentional community, relentless study, and unifying group rituals, can completely transform a person's mindset, banish their deep-seated doubts, and give them an absolute, unshakable purpose, well, what is your daily schedule doing to you? How are the environments we willingly put ourselves in, the people we associate with, and the routines we practice every single day, subtly shaping our own identities? Think about that as you structure your own time tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope this deep dive gave you a fresh perspective on the incredible power of focus, community, and routine.